Whew. Okay, cool. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Naji. This is our inaugural episode of Anime Onlys, a manga and review channel. This is just a safe haven for all manga lovers and anime lovers alike. Today we'll be talking about Black Clover Chapter 234. There's no official name for it because Manga Stream just kind of went down today. And so I'm not 100% sure what the name of the chapter is. Somehow the chapter was translated from Korean to English, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me given that like it's coming from Japan. But anyway, regardless, let's just get into it. So we start the chapter with members of the Golden Dawn just kind of like talking about Yuno and saying on how like it's incredible that a commoner or like somebody like him in a year and a half was able to advance from being the newest rookie on the team to now all of a sudden being their vice captain. And they're just kind of talking about it in awe basically, or just kind of like really giving him applause for his contributions to the Clover Kingdom. And then we go back to Hajj Village where Ralph, which we find out that's his name, that was the guy who was like, oh, you know, Master Yuno, and passed out on the church doorstep. Basically he comes and pulls out his grimoire after he tells Yuno like, yo, you are the prince of the Spade Kingdom. And after that he pulls out his grimoire and it's interesting because he pulls out the grimoire and then he uses a spell, I'm assuming, and he shows Yuno what happened in the past. And now this is interesting because is that like recollection magic or what? And then it's also kind of confusing because like I'll explain it like as I'm going through the story. But so anyway, he shows Yuno the past, and basically Yuno was born to a woman named Ciel. I'm assuming that that's how you pronounce your name. The translation could be iffy, my pronunciation could be wrong, take that as you will. But anyway, he's born to her, and then as well as his father, and I can't remember his father's name, but he was a military defense general in the Spade Nation. And basically from this, he was also served by Ralph. He basically comes from like a servant class family, or a family that pledges their loyalty or their lives to protecting royalty. They fast forward and the Spade Nation is attacked by, we can presume, the Dark Triad. I mean, that makes sense considering that they run the place now. And anyway, they say there's treason and they try to move Yuno very quickly. Like his dad is like, get my son out of here. I don't want him caught up in this. And so Ralph takes Yuno, and instead of trying to hide him in the Spade Nation, because obviously if the people are committing treason, then they know the land very well. So it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to put him in the land that they know, so it would be easier for them to find him. So he takes him and he dashes through the snow and runs through the forest. And like later on in the next panel, he has like blood on his face and he just seems kind of exhausted and doesn't really know like really where to take him because he's just like extremely tired and he's almost out of magic. And then this is what's interesting, because you would think that he's using recollection magic, but then at the same time though, like he spots the church and then he uses the last of his magic supposedly and summons like this wind, kind of like cyclone or like tornado, to basically transport Yuno to the church. And this is weird because do you have recollection magic, or do you have like or do you have wind magic? And then it's also weird because you use wind magic to take Yuno to the church, but yet in the anime and in the manga you sit him and Asta down. So it's like, where did they come from? Because you didn't have Asta with you now, and then you didn't put them like physically on the doorsteps. So like what's going on? But anyway, that's a digression. So afterwards he drops off Yuno at the church, and then Yuno kind of snaps out of that dream or that illusion or whatever kind of playback he was doing in his head. And then he gets pager rings from the Golden Dawn, and so he's like, you know, what's going on, how can I help? And they're like, we're being attacked. And so you immediately see the look of shock on his face, and he's like, what? And so then they cut over to the Golden Dawn headquarters, and it's like coming down in shambles, and it's just like being wrecked and destroyed. And I think we see William Vengeance and Patry on the steps as like their headquarters is coming down, because I see a guy with like kind of like short hair like William, and then like long flowy hair like Patry. We see them, and that just like, ooh, it makes my blood boil, because William is still probably the captain of the Golden Dawn, and that bothers me for two reasons. One, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like if him and Yuno had to go one-on-one, I feel like Yuno could take him. That's just my thoughts. If you disagree, let me know in the comments, but I think that Yuno could solo William. I think so. I don't think that his tree magic stands a chance against Yuno and his wind spirit, as well as just like his immense mana. And anyway, and then what also bothers me about him being like the captain is you commit treason against your country and you let so many people get killed and hurt. And like Julius is just like, you know what? That was a tough decision, William. I think we'll just let you slide. What? Like, what nation, who does this? And anyway, it annoys me strongly. And I also didn't like how William was just very weak-minded in my opinion and allowed Patri to take over his body and like presume lick and start this entire war. Like, you could have just like shut the dude out. But anyway, so afterwards, we see Xenon from the Dark Triad, the guy who has like the big old scar down his eye and over. So he kind of has like a Kakashi thing kind of going on from Naruto, kind of, but not really. And he has that going for him. And it's him and two of his lackeys. And one of the lackeys asks Xenon like, yo, like, can we kill everybody here? And then in the last panel, Xenon's just like, yeah, you can kill everybody here except for the light mage. So we can assume that the light mage is Patri. That's the only guy that I know in the entire Black Clover universe that has light magic. And they're at the Golden Dawn's headquarters. But why do they want Patri? That's interesting. Are they trying to like recruit him and assuming that like since he's already started a war or rebellion, like maybe he'll do it again? Or like it's something else kind of going on here? I'm not really like sure what's the reason behind that and why it is that he's so special in particular. I mean, I can see if they said like Yuno or if they said like even William, like Patri, I just feel like has no relevancy anymore at this point. And if anything, he's just supposed to be atoning for his sins, as that was like Radi's entire reason for like bringing him back like from the dead with his spell. But anyway, that's the manga chapter review. And that's pretty much like a quick summary of the chapter. Now I want to talk about kind of like some thoughts and maybe some theories that I'm kind of having. And the first one being is there's 3 members of the Dark Triad. There's like 7 or 8 Magic Knight squads. And I'm like, do you guys like, are you gonna actually stand a chance? Or are you just gonna kind of get washed and then like the typical suspects or like the typical captains show up and try to help you? Like, I'm not really sure how this is gonna work. Or maybe it's kind of like we attack and then we run away and then we come back and we attack again. Or maybe they'll just say, fuck it, you know, like we'll just go to war with you guys in a traditional fashion, and they just like are really impressive and they can hold more so than their own. I mean, they're all supposed to be possessed by demons anyway. So I know that with that comes great power, and who knows, they might all like have a certain amount of like, maybe Magicula can split up his power and now all 3 of them have like a certain amount of his power, or maybe it's just 3 different demons completely that they're just possessed by. And so I mean, by that result, like they're just all immensely powerful. And then the last thing that I want to talk on too is that if these guys are like as much of a threat as they're supposed to be, they're gonna need help from the Wizard King. And Julius has been pretty much a no-show this entire arc so far, except for just like briefly talking to Asta and them before they began their training at the with the Royal Guard. The Royal Guard, I'm talking about Bleach. Before they began their training with the Spirit Divers. And anyway, I'm just like, bro, like you are the Wizard King and there's nothing that you can do. So either we need another Wizard King, or like there's something that they're holding out on, and more specifically something that Tabata is probably holding out on us on. And I think that that's what it is. I think that what's gonna happen is remember when Julius came back from the dead and he had that 1-page grimoire? Well, I think that that 1 page is like an extremely powerful spell, or like pretty much like an ass pull that they're just kind of like saving for the last moment. And I think the spell, because they never really clarified on it and they never showed the page though either, what if that spell that he has, I mean, he does have time magic and he was literally able to bring himself back from the dead. So what if that spell allows him to bring himself back? And it may be temporary, but like what if he's able to bring himself back to his prime self for maybe like an hour or like 2 hours? And then, you know, in anime, like 10 minutes can go like 30 episodes, you know. I mean, there's no say so and how long it can take, but maybe for like a day, like he can, you know, expend a lot of magical energy and temporarily transform himself back into like the Wizard King that we knew when he was fighting Patri. And then in that way, he would be a gigantic help, because I'm sure that even with the other captains doing their training, I'm sure that Julius is still stronger than them anyway. And I wouldn't be like too surprised if he was training on his own at this point anyway, just because, I mean, he's so obsessed with magic. He knows that he's weak. Like, he knows it. He probably just, you know, just doesn't really bring it up that often, but he knows, like, I'm not as good as I used to be. And if like things actually went down, like, I would need to be able to, like, you know, come back and help. So I'm sure that that to some degree, that's what the spell is. And I also feel like that's the spell because he mentions once they defeat the word magic devil that, like, hey guys, like, I'm so sorry that, like, I wasn't able to get here to help you on time. Well, if you're a kid and you only have one page of your grimoire left, how are you gonna help them fight the word magic devil? If anything, you would just be like lambs to a slaughter. But what if that spell would allow him to turn back into his prime self, and he knew that? And so now he knows, like, okay, if I use this spell, I can go back to the original me, and now I can actually help you guys fight this guy, or, you know, take on whoever it is. So that's just kind of my thoughts. The chapter was pretty good. I mean, I give it about a 6 or a 7. It was more so about like just kind of revealing more about Yuno's past. And it was also just kind of like an indicator to say, like, okay, like, this is what's going on. They're starting their attack. They're starting to move. Kind of just a progression chapter. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. If you guys agree with me, if you guys like my summary, my theory, my manga review, to any extent, please hit a like, give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell, because if you don't, YouTube will not notify you about my videos, and you'll think that I only post like once or twice, like every month or two, and that's not the case. When I'll be posting multiple times during the week. I also plan on covering Boruto, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Dragon Ball Super, and vintage shows too, and I'm gonna just keep that a secret for a while, but you'll be excited to know like what it is that we're kind of working on that. Also, this was a really quick video because I didn't have a whole bunch of time. I'm actually about to get ready to run, so this is why it's in my living room. So different location, we'll have an official setup hopefully by next video, if not the video after that for sure. It'll be a more professional setup, and I'll kind of have like a little bit more aesthetics to it. But anyway, just let me know what you think, what you want to see next, if you have any questions, and please, like I said, give a like, a subscribe, post down in the comments. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was, if you like this music that's playing like subtly in the background, I'll leave a link in the description to Lee. He's I'm assuming a beat maker or some sort of artist and musician. And anyway, he just makes these dope like lo-fi beats and instrumentals that just are kind of like vibes. And then also I want to give a shout out to J Cloud's Anime Talk. I found out about Lee through watching his videos, and he's just been a pretty cool dude and an inspiration to me personally. And I love his content. So I mean, if you want to go check that out as well, I strongly suggest it. His link is down in the description below. Other than that, you guys have a good day. Have a blessed one. I hope it's nice outside like how it is where I am. And if it's not, then hey, just chill out. Christmas is almost here. Just kind of relax, enjoy family, enjoy friends. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.